We have come together in the presence of God to witness the marriage of Axel and Hannah, to ask his blessing on them and to share in their joy. The scriptures teach us that marriage is a gift of God in creation and a means of his grace, a holy mystery in which man and woman become one flesh. It is God's purpose that, as husband and wife give themselves to each other in love throughout their lives, they shall be united in that love as Christ is united with his church.
I, Axel.
Take you, Hannah.
Take you, Hannah.
To be my wife.
To be my wife.
To have and to hold.
To have and to hold.
From this day forward.
From this day forward.
For better, for worse.
For better, for worse.
For richer, for poorer.
For richer, for poorer.
In sickness and in health.
In sickness and in health.
To love and to cherish.
To love and to cherish.
Till death us do part.
Till death us do part.
They look happy now. Thought the bride was going to pass out.
Dora knows them. I'm only here to make up the numbers. I don't know the couple at all.
Oh, well, nor do I, really. They're friends of Jenny's.
Jenny knows everybody, even the rich and the famous.
Yes, yes, Jenny knows them all. She's certainly well in with the alternative mafia.
Mint julep, grape juice, or apple and lychee, sir?
Mint julep, thank you. This is some of the best wedding food I've ever had. Mushroom flower club, delicious. You should try one.
No, thank you.
Oh.
I've been watching Jenny preparing them all week under the supervision of Corin Last.
What's wrong, mate?
Oh, nothing really. I just do find it all very precious. Strictly vegetarian food, non-alcoholic fruit juices.
Dora tells me that the bridegroom runs a health food shop.
Yes, he's a real fanatic. He set himself up a year ago. They live above the shop in that new high-rise near the river.
I haven't seen the bride since the speeches.
Probably out the back, mixing up another vat of mint julep. Oh, really?
Hannah, open up, darling. It's me.
It is customary for the bride to attend her own wedding reception.
Don't expect I was missed.
Oh, come on. It's your day. It's you they've come to see. Well, don't let her get away with it.
Chief Inspector Wexford. I'm Corin Last.
I'm delighted to meet you. I know you, of course, from the television.
A policeman who's interested in vegetarian food?
Oh, I'm interested in a lot of things, including a love of Mozart.
Well, it was going to be a trio. My daughter Saffron is ill. Walking. She's been looking forward to it for months. I want you to meet Amias Ireland, my publisher.
Chief Inspector.
How do you do?
Wonderful man. And he wants to talk to you about something rather discreet, so I shall leave you both to it.
Oh, Chief Inspector, consider yourself organised. It's what Corin does best of all.
Let's go this way. Look, do you see that? Look. It's probably night time and they have their nighttime drink. Here's horses. They have to work very hard, these horses. They have to pull. It's very
Hannah,
heavy.
please, for God's sake, there are people downstairs. Hannah, are you listening?
Well, thank you. Thank you for turning this into the worst bloody day of my life.
It's about a book we're publishing.
Oh, who's we?
I'm with Carline Brent.
Oh, yes, you published the Vandrian and the Decoverly books.
Well, you certainly do have a wide range of interests. Part of my job is looking after the crime list. This isn't fiction, it's fact. The Winchurch case.
Oh, yes, I know it.
Bit of nerve asking, really. Would you mind reading a manuscript for me?
What for?
Well, in the interests of truth. You see, it's worrying me. The author discovered some new facts. They more or less prove Mrs. Winchurch was innocent. He concludes she was hanged for a crime she didn't commit. Do you know a writer called Kenneth Gandolf?
Oh, yes, another local celebrity. He's a crime writer.
He specializes in examining real-life crimes. This is a damn good manuscript. We want to do it for next year's spring list. It's a 90-year-old murder. People are still fascinated by it. This new version could cause quite a sensation.
Yes, I remember there was a margin of doubt about her guilt. What does Kenneth Gandalf base his new evidence on?
May I send you a copy? You'll find all that in the introduction.
Well,
It's the bride's brother. He's eating a hamburger.
Florence Winchurch married the man that she was supposed to have murdered in the same church as our happy couple this afternoon. And they had their reception here.
Both couples will have spent part of their honeymoon in Greece.
All right. Yes, of course. I think it went rather well. What was that for? For being one of the most generous, loving, wonderful women I know. Oh, what a marvellous woman.
I don't think I've actually met the bride.
Oh, no, not her. Corin Last. I mean, providing all the music and the food. Considering their history, I think it was very generous of her.
Well, whose history is that, then?
I must have told you. Axel and Corin lived together for years. He left her for Hannah, and then to do all of that for them.
Two very different women.
You are staying the night?
Yes, of course. It's absolutely stunning. The perfect backdrop for filming the new series.
Yes. We seem to have got the timing right for once. Down. Come on. Sit. Sit. Don't worry, he's perfectly well trained.
Glad to hear it. Bet he's not vegetarian.
Of course he is, except for what he eats in the garden.
A vegetarian guard dog. Whatever happened to you are what you eat?
That's never been part of my philosophy. You are the sum total of the demands you're prepared to put on life, would be more like it. A little more complicated than eating raw carrot.
Who on earth would do such a thing?
Scoundrels. Jobs from the village.
How would they get past the dog?
Must have been inside with Safi.
God, I'd like 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes. I know exactly what I'd do with him.
I know what I'd do with him, too. It would take an awful lot longer than 5 minutes.
Thought about your motives for reading that book?
Motive? I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, you've always had a thing about crime writers, and now you've got a chance of proving one wrong.
Nothing against crime writers. I like a good crime story as well as anyone else. No, it's the true story brigade that I find worrying. Real facts have a way of not fitting neatly into a paperback. They have to be manipulated.
Well, don't forget the writer lives less than 2 miles from here. I shouldn't think he's going to like being vetted by you.
Gandalf doesn't know that I'm reading this, and there's no reason why he should find out.
Is it any good?
I haven't got that far in yet. A happy couple have met. He's 47 and very rich. She's 19 and very poor. They've married and just come back from their honeymoon.
You all right? Haven't said a word since we got off the plane.
Still want to be out there, I suppose.
Well, while we've been away... We're really going to have to keep a tight rein on spending.
Please, don't start.
All right, all right. I just think we should let each other know what we're taking out of the joint account, that's all.
I'll not be treated like a child.
Hannah, before the wedding, we were hemorrhaging money. I just want to know where it all goes, that's all.
Fine. From now on, you do the shopping on next to nothing. Waste your life juggling final demands. I'll sit in your stupid shop and watch customers walk past.
Take one, Jane Paul. Other side. through with your game overnight. Diet. Be like your sister, cut out meat. Dodge, fried fatty foods. Put yourself on a wholesome vegetarian regime. Instant vitality. And you'll certainly benefit from the natural weight loss.
It's got nothing to do with diet. You've been playing years longer than I have.
Your average meat eater is not only a slower creature than your vegetarian, but he's also lower down the evolutionary scale.
I happen to enjoy my food. And I've never had a vegetarian meal that I've liked yet.
Ah, well, I shall be cooking something rather special soon. Mushroom soup, not your white plastic supermarket kind, but the real thing. Picked from the hedgerows. Welcome to join us.
No, thanks. I'll stick to the supermarket.
It's the same damn one again.
Darling, how are you?
Fine, thank you. Hello, Safi.
Saffron's upset she missed the wedding.
Now, the reason we invited you round was to thank you. Because you made it the perfect day for us both.
Oh, you shouldn't have.
Sorry about the mess. The place is so small, there's never anywhere to put anything.
Yes, we're going to have to find a new place very soon. We've decided to start a family straight away. I want to have lots of babies.
Yes. Ah, now, there was something else very special we brought back from Greece.
Olives?
Your favourite. Anna, would you mind? Thank you, darling. At the back of the store.
Well, babies.
Yes. Slightest thing sets them off.
Toes on your left foot. Oh, thank goodness for that. Got some nasty bruises. Do you have any arnica?
Yes, of course.
And I'll give you an infusion of willow bark.
Can't believe you didn't see it. It's a big enough hole.
Jenny, it's me.
Hello, darling. No, he's been down for about half an hour, so you should be all right. Oh, and there's a salad in the fridge for you.
Where are you going?
Corin's, and I'm late. Music practice. I told you about it this morning, remember?
Oh, yes, my mistake. I just thought this was one evening you weren't going to be with her. Still, you should be able to turn professional soon.
Mike, what's wrong?
Well, I just had a very tiring, stressful day, and I'm coming home to a salad, that's all.
That's right. I've just left you a bowl of limp lettuce and some mouldy old tomatoes. Just the thing for the tired and stressful. A
gastronomic extravagance, a cornucopia of delight.
One of her recipes, is it?
It's from Corin's new cookbook, actually. So try not to choke on it.
Does it match the description in the book?
Yes. Edward Winchurch was a very wealthy man. Rich enough to build a large, ugly, sinister pile to his own design. A fitting setting for his own murder. Aldous Huxley reckoned that people were born victims, born to have their throats cut.
But Winchurch was poisoned.
Well, he was. He married a girl 30 years younger than himself, chemist's daughter. Well-educated but poor. Some people say that Florence married Winchurch for his money.
And did she?
I don't know. But reading Gandalf's book, she obviously took to the life of a rich Victorian lady like a duck to water. Had an easy, good command over her servants. She won over local opinion, and they were a happy couple. Until a handsome young doctor called Frank Fenton appeared on the scene.
Ah.
Within a year, she was his mistress. And a year later, Edward Winchurch was murdered by poison. Florence was found guilty of the crime and hanged for it.
And the handsome young doctor?
Well, he wasn't implicated. But his reputation was ruined.
But Gandalf thinks that the doctor was guilty and the wife was innocent.
Yeah. You seem very tense, Mike.
No, not really. Just got quite a heavy workload to get back to, that's all.
Well, that's nothing unusual. Everything all right at home?
Terrible. Jenny's under the spell of that damn white witch.
Yes, well, that seems to be all right. You really should have had yourself checked up after a nasty fall like that, you know.
Everything seemed in working order afterward.
Yes, well, next time you come to the professionals just to make sure, right?
I'm fine, really. I just need something a little stronger to keep me calm.
Well, let's just see what you're on. Ah, yes. Well, I don't think that stronger tranquilizers are the answer, Mr. Kingman. I really don't. If you like, I can give you the name of someone you can talk to so you could begin to tackle the origins of your anxiety.
I don't know. I don't think there are any. I just feel so useless. Empty.
I'm taking these to Axel from Hannah's. Do you want to come? I'm not giving them those. Of course I am. Why should she get to eat them? Don't be ridiculous. I'm not being ridiculous. Every year it's been a special meal, a ritual for the three of us. Now you're picking them for her to eat. We're both invited, silly. Well, I'm not going. You will go with all the good grace and charm you can muster. Safi, you will learn as you go through life that you can't blame a person for not wanting to be with you, and you certainly can't blame the person that they leave you for. You shouldn't have let him go!
Hello, John.
You didn't tell me you were as bad as this.
No, it looks much worse than it is.
How could he leave the bloody trapdoor open when it was pitch black, the prat?
He didn't know the bulb had gone.
What time of day was it?
What do you mean?
You know what I mean.
No, I don't know.
Look, don't treat me like I'm an idiot.
Look, if you're going to lose your temper, you can leave now.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. You always are afterwards.
So these are the famous toadstools, are they?
Don't let Axel catch you calling them that. They're shaggy cat mushrooms and they taste delicious. Axel made this morning. You should try some.
Oh, thanks.
It's a pity you can't come tonight.
Yeah, sorry. Not my idea of a good night out.
Corin and Saffron will be here. I'm going to be heavily outnumbered.
Well, in that case, I suppose I could come.
Is Reg really cooking the meal?
Yeah. God knows what it's going to be like. It's the same dish that Florence Winchurch served up to her husband 90 years ago and poisoned him. He's absolutely obsessed with that damn book. Oh, well, make it change some salads. I'll go collect the babysitter.
Mike, I like being with Corin. She's a good friend. She's fun to be with. Well, surely you don't see that as a threat.
Very good of you. I really didn't want to drive with a broken light.
Well, it's no trouble. No trouble at all. Evening, Safi.
I'm really looking forward to this. It's going to be a real feast. Hello.
Oh,
What is this? Are you using tinned fish?
that's exactly what the Winchurch's cook said when she was asked to prepare the same dish 90 years ago. Why not use fresh fish?
Well,
Well, the prosecution alleged that Florence Winchurch used the cans so that she could point to them as a source of poisoning. She and her husband were going to have the same meal. She was going to poison his. She would pretend to have the same symptoms, but she would recover, and he would die.
very clever of her. How far are you prepared to take this experiment?
Will I expect to survive? John?
Looks wonderful. And just the right consistency.
Yes, they look especially potent this year.
John, have a glass of grape juice. Homemade.
No, thanks. I'll stick to water, Tal.
Enjoy.
Here we are. Filet d'orange, marinara rosette, all gelée.
Well, if it's anything like the first course, I can't wait to be poisoned.
Yes, it was good, Reg. It really was.
Well, we're told that Florence was a beautiful and lovely woman, but she must have had a will of iron. There, Jenny.
No reflection on my character, Reg.
Oh, I hope not, for Mike's sake. She fell in love with young Dr. Fenton and set about stage managing the murder. For a long period of time, she must have known that she was going to kill her husband. Dora?
A woman may smile and smile and be a villain.
Now, she served this dish to Edward Winchurch, and he loved it. She didn't eat any herself, but what was left over was eaten by the servants. Now, Mike?
No ill effect?
No. Cool hand Florence. Some months later, she got the cook to prepare the dish again. This time she did eat some. But she advised the servants not to have it because she thought it tasted strange or perhaps not quite fresh.
But I bet someone did.
Oh, yes, a large and hungry kitchen maid wolfed the lot. Now, you should take notice of that. At the end of the meal, the lady retired and left the master to his port. A few minutes later, there was a strangled shout from the dining room and the sound of breaking furniture. And Florence and the servants dashed into the dining room. They saw Edward Winchurch having convulsions. He was arching his back and baring his teeth and gripping the table in his agony. Oh, by the way, I've made a few salads to go with this, so just help yourselves.
Reg.
Well, by the time young Dr. Fenton had been called, Florence was complaining of pains in the stomach and she couldn't stand. He asked what they'd eaten, and the cook showed him the empty herring tins. He recognized the brand. It had recently been the cause of a fatal form of food poisoning. Obviously, the Winchurches had been attacked by Bacillus botulinus. Oh. Tuck in.
That was delicious.
Sorry, there isn't any more.
It's like really good chicken soup.
Surely the highest compliment a vegetarian cook could wish for.
So we have a convert to vegetarianism.
Yeah, if it all tasted like this.
Can't think of any other reason for being vegetarian, except that the food tastes better.
Moral, economic and political considerations as well.
We act out of our own self-interest. We always have done, and we always will. Oh, that looks delicious. Hannah, darling, you all right?
Irony plays a hand in the fate of men. It was Florence's father who happened to drop by and insist on a second opinion. And he hadn't intervened. She would have got away with murder. The second opinion was that Edward Winchurch had been poisoned by strychnine. He died a few minutes later. The doctor could find nothing wrong with Florence or the kitchen maid. After the inquest, Florence was charged with murdering her husband by administering a noxious substance, strychnine, in a decanter of port wine.
What's Gandalf's angle?
Fresh evidence in the form of a diary belonging to Fenton's sister. Gandalf claims it implicates Fenton in Edward's murder. It was Fenton's evidence at the trial that sent Florence to the gallows.
Lie down.
Hannah, darling, tell me where the pain is.
For God's sake, she needs a doctor. We need to get her to a hospital.
The last place she needs to go, they're full of sick people.
Come on, you can tell just by looking at her.
Keep your voice down. It's just a bug she's picked up.
It's those toadstools. I knew they were bloody dangerous things to start messing with.
Really, you had twice as much as anybody else. How do you feel?
I want you to call a doctor.
She's had quite enough of doctors as it is.
She needs someone qualified to look at her.
What she needs is for you two to stop shouting at each other so she can get some rest.
He's refusing to call a doctor.
I don't think we should come between husband and wife, do you?
No,
still here.
Oh. I wasn't going to go until I knew you were all right.
Fine, just a little weak. Legs are a bit shaky.
What do you think it was?
Whatever it was, it didn't warrant calling out the Army, Navy and Air Force.
Yeah, well, I don't know much. But if it's gone already, doesn't look like it was a bug. Must have been the food.
I think you're safer on I don't know much.
Please.
I'm sorry, I've had enough of this. The next time you want to see your sister, do it when I'm not here.
That suits me fine. I'll see you later, Anna.
Wexford?
Yes?
Well, I can't say I'm pleased to meet you. I believe you're investigating me.
Am I?
Yes. I'm Kenneth Gandalf.
Oh, I see.
Well, I wish I did. I wish I understood what the hell my publishers are up to. I might have been able to understand if they had passed my manuscript on to a somebody with some literary pretensions. To give it to a country policeman, I find absolutely insulting.
Well, now, that makes two of us who are insulted.
Well, at least you're being told face to face. I found out what was going on by accident from some chatty little secretary.
Yes, I do see that couldn't help.
I'm warning you, Wexford. I have a considerable amount of influence in this county, and you're stepping way out of your league.
These are very serious allegations, Mr. Hood.
I know they are. I thought I was exaggerating at first, but I've thought about it and I'm not. He fused that light and left the trapdoor open deliberately. It was all cleverly planned so he could be upstairs with witnesses.
That really is just supposition.
Then on Saturday night, he tried to poison her. I was there, for God's sake. He wouldn't call a doctor. He was hoping she'd die.
But in the morning, she'd recovered.
Yeah.
What possible motive could he have? They were newlyweds.
Well, perhaps he felt he'd made a mistake. Perhaps when he lived with her, he... I don't know.
Does your sister feel she's in any danger?
No. I don't think so. She's too close to see what's really going on. Inspector, he's not going to stop until he's killed her.
There was a £20 note at the bottom of the till. Where is it? Hannah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I meant to leave a note. I had to go and get some supplies.
Supplies? What supplies? Hannah?
All right, I give in. I'd run out of tranquilizers. I had to go and renew my prescription. It cost money.
Well, why didn't you tell me?
Oh, I didn't tell you because I knew you'd disapprove. You disapprove of me so much, I can't think why you wanted to marry me. Oh, let's face it, we both know why. Despite her.
By her, you mean Corinne? That is absolute nonsense.
Oh, is it? Then why do you light up every time you see it? It's like I'm looking at a different person. And when you look at me, there's nothing there. Oh, why did you have to pick on me? Oh, God. I might as well be dead.
How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Jenny and Mark?
They're both fine, too. Do you sell organic wine?
We don't sell any alcohol whatsoever.
No, of course not. Well, I'll just take these then. I bumped into Hannah's brother this morning. He told me Hannah had been very ill.
Hannah, could you come through, please?
Hello, Mike.
Hello, Hannah.
Your brother has sent Inspector Burton to check up on you.
He did no such thing.
It's a pity you can't do something useful, like put a stop to the continuous noise pollution we're subjected to. So you've decided on the honey oat crunch, have you?
Yes, thank you.
That'll be £2.75, please.
Don't bother to put it in a bag. How are you, Hannah?
I'm fine, thank you. I'm fine. Sounded as if you went about it in such a clumsy way.
That's the way Axel told it to you. I'm sure it did.
Well, he was very upset. It was such a ridiculous accusation to make.
I didn't make any accusations. But I did see the state that Hannah was in, and it's left me worried.
And for that, you're blaming Axel. Just because her brother's got an overactive imagination. Oh, for God's sake! You're against everyone and anything that just doesn't fit into your strict little world.
Well, what's the verdict?
Gandalf points to Fenton as the murderer. Fenton wanted Florence, the money, and the property. Divorce was out of the question. She would have been ostracized and penniless, and his career would have been ruined. But with Winchurch dead, winner takes all. And the diary that Gandalf says he discovered shows that Fenton lied about having strychnine in the dispensary. It also shows that he had the opportunity of putting poison in the port. So both of them had the motive. But which one of them did it, I'm not sure.
I'm sorry, Corinne. I just can't concentrate. Oh, my back is killing me. I know what you need. Oh, that's wonderful. Oh, my father always had butcher's hands. Afterwards, I'm going to make you a brew, and then you're going to phone Mike and talk. And apologize if you have to, whoever was right or wrong. And then this evening, you'll spend some time alone with Mike, and I'll look after Mark. Don't be daft. You've got far too much to do. I wouldn't ask you to do that. You're not asking. I'm telling. God, where is she? They certainly know how to press the right buttons, don't they? She's only about 10 minutes late. Safi and I have an understanding about music practice. What do you think was wrong with Hannah? I've no idea. She's all right now.
Bravo Victor 3. Over.
Bravo Victor 3, attend to 212 at junction of Bakers Lane and High Street. D.S. Martin at scene of incident.
I recognize the dress. It's Hannah Kingman.
Shut that damn thing off.
Constable.
What's going on? So we can't really conclude whether she fell accidentally, jumped, or was pushed.
From examination of her body, no. But she was a deeply depressed woman. And in the circumstances, it's quite possible that she jumped.
I see. So we're like to see a coroner's verdict of suicide while the balance of the mind was disturbed.
Yes, I think so, Reg.
Mike? Oh, do you want to ask anything? You're going to have to take a different attitude to this case.
Reg, I told you I had a hunch Hannah Kingman was in danger. You dismissed it. I'm not blaming you. I saw something, and I should have followed through on it. I didn't. And I have to live with that.
Well, you arrested him yet?
I don't think we've met. Detective Chief Inspector Wexford.
Well, have you?
If you're referring to Mr. Kingman, no, we haven't.
Why the bloody hell not?
We are investigating the death of your sister, Mr. Hood. As yet, we have no information to help us determine how she died.
Axel Kingman murdered her. He tried it twice before, but you wouldn't listen, or you didn't have the guts to do anything about it.
We're at the very beginning of our investigations, Mr. Hood. No doubt we shall be interviewing you shortly. But I think we'll get in touch with you. I think that'll be the best.
I'm getting the newspapers onto this.
How is he?
Asleep. His temperature's down, but I still think it's a good idea to let the doctor have a look at him.
You're not responsible for other people's actions, Mike.
It's not other people's actions I'm concerned about. It's the fact that I didn't take any of my own.
Hannah was a classic suicide, self-pitying, depressive.
Or a born victim waiting to have her throat cut. Reg has been in very bookish mood lately. He was quoting Aldous Huxley at me. Apparently it takes two to make a murder.
Oh, and who's supposed to have killed her? Axel? I mean, it's ridiculous to think that he's capable of killing anyone.
Why is that?
Because I know him, Mike. I know him very well. His principles, his whole way of life. He's the sort of man that you trust and admire.
Yes. Well, my intuition tells me otherwise.
Your intuition?
Yes, that part of me you're always saying I should be in touch with. And this time I intend to follow it through.
Thank you. Cheers. Well, I suppose we can dispense with a little fiction that you wanted me to read. Gandalf's book to check up on police methods and court procedure.
Ah, well...
Not to put too fine a point on it. You were apprehensive that the diary was a forgery.
Well, if you must put it like that, yes. Gandalf certainly felt he was being investigated. I'm sorry about the run-in you had with him. I'm afraid I was carpeted for upsetting one of our established authors.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I think it's genuine. The crucial entry is the one that points to the doctor being guilty and she being innocent. That was made on the 29th of February. Now, I'm assuming that you've checked that 1900 was a leap year.
All first years of a century are.
Oh, of course they are. Yes, all years divisible by 4 are leap years.
Oh, it's a great relief you're happy about the book.
Oh, happy. Not totally delirious.
What do you mean?
Oh, take no notice. My concerns are for the present, not for the past. You go ahead and publish.
Given her history and her medical background, I'd have taken her death to be suicide if it wasn't for those 2 unexplained incidents. When she fell through the trapdoor and when she was ill after eating mushroom soup. Kingman could have pushed her off the balcony. He has no alibi.
We have no evidence, and there were no witnesses.
No. But if we can establish that those 2 previous incidents were in fact attempts by Kingman to murder Hannah, we'll be building up an unanswerable case against him.
Mr. Kingman, were you surprised that your wife committed suicide?
My wife set a very low valuation on herself. When we first started living together, I thought she was like me. Simple sort of person who doesn't expect very much from life, but has quite a capacity for contentment. And then it all seemed to change. Especially leading up to the wedding and after. She was always moody. Always up and down. My business isn't doing very well, and she was spending more money than we could afford. I don't know where the money was going, and we argued about it. And then she became very depressed and said she was of no use to me. And that she'd be better off dead.
Mrs. Kingman, we have reasons to believe that foul play was involved. I should like to ask you some questions about a meal you cooked, after which your wife was ill.
I can guess where this is coming from.
When did Miss last send you the shaggy capsule?
The Friday evening, 28th. I cooked the soup on Saturday morning from Corin's own recipe.
Did you at any time put any noxious object or substance into the soup?
My brother-in-law is a confusion of ignorance and prejudice. I've made that soup in exactly the same way, dozens of times.
Nevertheless, your wife did become very ill. Why didn't you call a doctor?
Because she wasn't very ill. She had sickness and diarrhea, that's all. You're not aware of the symptoms of fungus poisoning. The victim doesn't just get pains and sickness. There are blackouts, loss of vision, convulsions. There's nothing like that with Hannah.
It's a pity you rinsed everyone's plates immediately after they'd finished eating. Had you not done so and called a doctor, the remains of the soup would have been sent for analysis. And if it's harmless, as you say, all this investigation could have been avoided.
It was harmless.
When you asked him if he was surprised that his wife had committed suicide, he could have given a simple yes or no answer. Instead, he gave us a very long explanation as to why she should have done it.
Yes, that crossed my mind too. But he's bound to feel guilty if it was suicide. I'm not sure that we have a lot to go on, except for your intuition.
Can't imagine what it was that made Hannah ill, but something must have done. She was perfectly all right when we first arrived. It certainly wasn't a gastric infection, that's for sure.
And did Mr. Kingman serve you all from the same tureen?
I didn't actually see Axel serve Hannah. I was out of the room at the time.
Was it usual for Mr. Kingman to rinse the plates immediately after they'd been cleared from the table?
I don't know. I only knew that Hannah was ill after eating the soup. Axel doesn't like doctors. It embarrassed him to call one in the circumstances. But Hannah had black spots before the eyes. She was getting double vision.
So it was much more serious than stomach pains and diarrhea.
Oh, yes, I was very worried about her.
But you weren't concerned enough to call a doctor yourself. And you didn't back up Mr. Hood in his allegations.
Well, I would hardly take John Hood's advice on matters medical or scientific. I was rather frightened for Axel. I mean, there'd been an inquiry or something.
But there is an inquiry now, Miss Last.
Well, yes, but it's different now. Hannah's dead. I mean, it's not conjecture or suspicion anymore, is it?
So this is where you pick your shaggy hats from?
Yes.
Inside.
I believe that your daughter was present at the meal.
Yes, she was. But she won't be able to tell you any more than you know already.
Nevertheless, I would like to have a word with her.
Yes, of course. She's not here. Well, do give my love to Jenny. I'm sure I'll be seeing her very soon.
I'm sure you will.
Thank you.
You arrested him?
No, Mr. Hood. We're just collecting facts.
I haven't been to the papers yet, but when I do, I'm going to the Chief Constable as well. And I won't stop there either. I'll take this to the Home Office.
Mr. Hood, what exactly were your sister's symptoms on the night of the dinner party?
Vomiting and stomach pains. Violent pains.
She didn't complain of anything else?
Isn't that enough? That's what you get when someone tries to poison you.
Mr. Hood, did your sister have any specific worries or problems?
You mean apart from being married to him?
Find him all right?
Yes, thank you.
Terrible business. Poor bloke.
Was Mr. Hood at work on Thursday afternoon?
Thursday afternoon. Oh, the day it all happened? No. He was in the morning, and he went off sick in the afternoon. Phoned in from his bed. Food poisoning he put it down to.
But I had to leave Reg following up the suspects in order to get back here.
Well, that's very big of you.
So I'm not taking him to the doctor.
No. Corin's making him a herbal remedy.
And that's where you're taking him.
Yes.
I don't think you should.
Well, I do.
Jenny, I am not having you taking Mark to that woman for medical advice.
Oh, hello, Reg. I was just going. Bye, Mike.
Walked in at the wrong moment, did I?
You'd have been hard-pressed to find the right one. Anyway, how did you get on?
Well, I had an interesting chat with one of Hood's neighbours. She cleans for him every Thursday. And last Thursday afternoon was no exception. And Mr. Hood was certainly not at home in his sick bed.
I was doing another job. I didn't want anyone to know.
You were moonlighting?
Yes. It's mostly at the weekends, but something went wrong with a boiler that day, and it needed fixing straight away.
Your sister and her husband had money problems, didn't they?
I wouldn't know.
She spent more than they had. He doesn't know where it went. He said she was very moody. Up one minute, down the next. Was your sister an alcoholic, Mr. Hood?
What?
Was your sister an alcoholic? Now you listen to me. You started this business. You've made some very serious allegations about Axel Kingman. It's not for you to hold back now.
All right. She did drink a bit. She had done since her first marriage broke up.
Did your brother-in-law know about this?
God, no. He would have killed her. Well, perhaps he found out. He's a fanatic about drink. He won't have it in the house.
How much did Hannah drink, Mr. Hood?
Oh, she wasn't as bad as she used to be. And it was only in the evenings. She told me she never had a drink before 6.
The night she was ill, she'd been drinking that evening?
No, I should think so. She wouldn't have been able to face company without a drink.
She was a regular.
What was her drink?
Oh, spirits with her. Not heavy, but often.
What about last Thursday?
Thursday? No, not Thursday. No, it was a Wednesday. She bought a bottle of vodka on the Wednesday.
Well, that confirms where the money was going.
Well, there were no significant traces of alcohol in the bloodstream, otherwise they would have shown up in the post-mortem. So she hadn't been drinking on the day that she fell.
Which ties in with Hood saying that she only drank after 6 in the evening. We didn't find any alcohol in their flat when we searched it. She couldn't have drunk a whole bottle in one evening and her husband not notice.
So, what happened to the bottle?
Exactly.
Yes, I think we'll have to have a word with that husband first thing in the morning.
What the hell is going on?
Look, Mike, I haven't left. I mean, I'm not walking out. I just thought it would be a good idea if we had a couple of days apart, you know, till we both calm down.
And you have to spend it here?
Oh, no, I don't have to. I want to. Corin has been very kind and very generous.
What about Mark? I suppose I have some sort of visiting rights?
For God's sake, Mike, don't be ridiculous. Of course you can see Mark any time you want to. He's sleeping at the moment, or at least he was. Mike, I just need a couple of days by myself.
Yes, well, I'd be very careful of her. Make sure you don't end up walking to heel and sitting up and begging like the rest of the household.
You sure you wouldn't like to take a few days' leave and sort things out at home?
No, I'd rather stay at work. Keep busy.
Oh, that's a heavy load.
It's just a question of balance.
Is Mr. Kingman in?
He's upstairs in his flat. I gave him the morning off.
Well, that was very generous of you.
Hello, Mike. How are you coping on your own?
Why don't you go upstairs and have a word with Mr. Kingman? I'll stay down here and chat with Miss Last. How's business?
Not too good. You're my first customer. My mother said you'd want to ask me about the evening that Hannah was ill. Well, I can't tell you anything you don't already know, except it was a welcome finish to a very dreary evening.
This is ridiculous. You think if my wife had been an alcoholic, I wouldn't know about it?
Someone with an addictive habit can be extremely devious, very secretive.
They would have discovered it at the post-mortem.
No, not if they weren't looking for it. They had no reason to examine her liver.
Did you like Mrs. Kingman?
No. She was a sponge. Well, she never had anything to say for herself. No opinions, nothing to add. She'd just sit there listening with that weak smile of hers, like a little mousy sponge.
Hard to understand why Mr. Kingman would leave your mother for someone like that. Probably less demanding. More peaceful. Still, it wasn't a happy marriage. You didn't go to their wedding.
I didn't see there was much to celebrate.
You would have preferred Mr. Kingman to stay with you and your mother. Still, you're looking after him now?
Well, just for a while. He's very upset. Blames himself for a suicide.
Oh? So you think it's suicide?
Of course. Someone like that stands to reason.
This isn't going to work, you know. You're just trying to break me down.
Mr. Kingman, I am trying to get at the truth.
Oh, really? I know all about your personal problems. You're on a crusade to prove a point to your wife.
No, that is absolute nonsense.
Is it? You sure about that, are you? Look, I'm sorry, but my wife killed herself. I just want to be left alone.
He said he only wanted a minute.
No, really.
Yes, really, yes. I just felt that I had to apologize.
There was really no need, Mr. Gandalf.
Indeed, there was. I was very rude.
Oh, Sergeant, have you got that report yet?
Waiting to give it to you, sir.
Oh, well, I'll say goodbye then, Mr. Gandalf.
Goodbye, Inspector, and thank you.
Well, come on.
Both of Hood's alibis checked out, sir. There's no way it could have been his sister's flat any part of the afternoon. Signed statements from both of them are enclosed, sir.
Well, that knocks him off the list then, doesn't it?
Yes, sir. Excuse me for asking, sir, but was that Kenneth Gandalf, the crime writer?
Yes. Well, you're not a fan, are you?
No, sir. I'm certainly not.
You got something to tell me, Sergeant?
Well, sir, it was at about the time when I was stationed down in Eastbourne. I'd just been made a DC. Gandalf based one of his true crime stories on some information he said he got from a prisoner. And in doing so, he claimed he solved a murder case we were unable to close. The book was a bestseller, sir.
Had he solved it?
No, sir. The whole thing was a tissue of lies, all built in a confession from a dead man.
And no one challenged him?
No, sir. At the time of publication, it would have compromised another case. And then everyone let it drop. He's a liar, sir.
Oh, it's from Ellis Island. Grateful thanks, some recent publications.
Not all to your taste, though, are they? The Cosmos Book of Stars and Calendars.
I'm not sure that I deserve any of them now.
Why do you think Gandalf made a point of coming to apologize?
Probably just checking to see if I had any nagging doubts.
Have you?
Mike, whatever has happened?
Oh, nothing. Come in. I think I'm on the way to solving the Hannah Kingman case. I think that Axel found out that Hannah was an alcoholic. Most probably he discovered various bottles over a period of time, but didn't let on.
Well, I don't see that that's sufficient motive for him killing her.
Oh, I agree he killed her because he felt trapped in a marriage that just wasn't going to work, and divorce would have meant humiliating himself in front of Corinne last.
Do you care to tell me what you're up to?
Not straight away, but I think I can show you how Kingman tried to kill Hannah on the night of the dinner party. You were kind enough to cook me filet de hareng marine à la rosette en gelée. Well, I'd like you to sit down with me and try a bowl of shaggy cat soup. On the night of the dinner party, Axel knew that Hannah would be the only one with alcohol in her stomach.
Oh, how would you know that?
Well, he doesn't drink, nor do Corin or Saffron. And Hood was coming almost straight from work, so he wouldn't have had time to consume more than the slightest amount. My theory is that this soup is harmless when eaten by non-drinkers, but toxic, or toxic to some extent, when taken by someone with a high volume of alcohol in the stomach.
Well, have you been drinking?
Yes, yes, I have.
Oh, for God's sake. How much?
Oh, enough, enough. Not, I hope, as much as Hannah Kingman had that night. But enough to prove my point. I was certain I was going to be retching and vomiting by now.
Never mind. Cheer up.
I was so damn positive.
I know you were. I wonder why you were so positive that Hannah Kingman didn't commit suicide. I wonder why I'm so sure that you're right.
Jenny knows. She thinks it's because we're prejudiced against Axel Kingman, him and everything he stands for.
You've been drinking.
Yes, as a matter of fact, I have. But it hasn't done me much good.
Oh, God. You silly thing. Oh, Mike, this isn't like you. It's all right, darling. Run back now. It's all right. It's all right. Reg, how could you let him get like this?
Look, I don't see what me telling Corinne last about Hannah's problems got to do with anything.
Why did you tell her?
No reason. We just got talking. She's the sort of person you just open up to. And she was really good about it. Very, well, I don't know. What's the word?
Intuitive? Sympathetic?
Yeah. Yeah, she really understood what me and Mum had been through.
When did you have this conversation with Miss Last?
At the wedding.
So Corinne knew that Hannah was an alcoholic. Remember, they all knew she was an alcoholic, but we still don't have any link between alcohol, the soup, and poisoning. If nothing else, I think I proved that.
Still, alcohol is the one element that divides Hannah Kingman from the rest of the dinner party.
Yes. Well, Hood has an alibi for the afternoon Hannah died. Kingman doesn't. Neither do Corinne or Saffron. You serious about them?
Yes. One or the other, or both. The crux of the case, Mike, is in the attempted murder that led to murder. Out of good, still to find a means of evil.
That soup was spiked, Mike. It was good for everyone except Hannah. I think somebody tried to make Hannah ill so that they could point the finger at Kingman and murder.
Hannah was seriously ill. She didn't just have nausea and vomiting. Corin says that she had double vision and black spots before her eyes. She was seriously worried that Hannah...
She was in mortal danger. Mike, Corin is the only one that has offered us that information.
I mean, much as I loathe the woman...
Saffron said that she was not interested in the events of the evening, and she was perfectly prepared to accept her mother's account of what happened.
She's a child.
She's strong enough to push Hannah Kingman off a balcony.
I spoke to Jenny this morning. Mark seems to have fully recovered.
Yes, he's fine, thank you.
I expect you enjoyed the breathing space as much as she did.
Miss Last, where were you on the afternoon of Hannah Kingman's death?
At home, indoors, painting.
Alone?
Painters don't work with an audience. Door, please.
I believe that on the morning of the dinner party, there was something wrong with your car.
The glass in the offside front headlamp was broken. Would you like to see the bill from the garage for repairing it?
No, that won't be necessary. You arranged for Mr. Hood to come and collect you at 6 o'clock.
Yes.
You didn't give him a drink?
Of course not. I was entrusting him to drive my daughter and myself.
These shaggy caps, are they still growing in your garden?
There were some there the other day, but we must have had vandals again. The dog was making a commotion early one morning, and when I went out to look later on, they'd all gone. If you want them analysed or examined or whatever, it's getting a bit late. The season's nearly over.
I'll get the labs to analyze that when we get back.
Look at these. Thought you said the season was almost over. There's quite a few here.
These don't look as healthy as the ones in the garden. Several sorts here. Ah, thank you, Mike. I think a trip to the library is in order.
Would you like a lunch brought in, sir, or are you fixed up?
No, but I wouldn't mind a celebratory pot of coffee, thank you, Sergeant.
Celebratory, sir?
Is Mr. Burton in?
No, sir, he just left. He's on 2 days' leave.
Oh, yes, of course.
I can contact him if you want me to, sir.
No, this will be a pleasant surprise for him when he gets back.
Thank you very much, yes. Bye.
You know, there must be something I've missed. Sergeant Martin's convinced Gandalf's a liar. I just don't know.
You'll be able to make up your mind about him tomorrow evening at the garden party. That was Corin Last on the phone. She's having a party to publicise her new television series. And she reeled off a list of local names who would be there, and Gandalf was one of them. Of course, she was most apologetic about giving us such short notice. I expect she wants to make up the numbers. It's black tie.
Did you accept?
Well, of course. It's going to be wonderful. And Corin's doing all the food and drinks herself.
Oh.
Reg, we're going.
Well, we'd better eat before we go, then. Dora!
No, I'm not. And I won't be for another 10 minutes.
You don't have to go tonight, you know, if you don't want to.
One of the books that Emmy has sent me. The one you said wasn't for me. The Cosmos book of stars and calendars.
Reg, we have to go.
Well, you were wrong. It was meant just for me. Good evening. Inspector, Mr. Gandalf.
Good evening, Chief Inspector.
I need down. Excuse me.
Chief Inspector Wexford, you know. He's quite a sound man.
Cosmos Book of Stars and Calendars. What's one about?
Yes, you obviously haven't read it.
No. Why? Should I have done?
Well, if you had, it would have told you that Mr. Gandalf was a fraud and that you should have nothing more to do with him. His case rests on an entry on the 29th of February, 1900. And it's a forgery.
How do you know?
Because the day itself did not occur. The 29th of February, 1900, was not a leap year.
Yes, it was. We've been through all that before. All years divisible by 4 are leap years. 1900's divisible by 4.
Your publication is full of interesting information, including the fact that Pope Gregory composed his own civil calendar to rectify the errors in the Julian calendar. One of his rulings was that every 4th year should be a leap year, except in certain cases. Century years were not to be leap years unless they were divisible not by 4, but by 400. So, 2000 will be a leap year, but 1800 was not a leap year, and 1900 was not a leap year.
So the whole thing's a total forgery.
Well, I leave you to tell Mr. Gandalf in your own way and in your own time.
Any luck with the fungi research?
Yes. Got the answer, but I need confirmation.
You seem very casual about it.
No, but I certainly wouldn't drink that stuff.
We can never prove any of this.
Oh, I think we can, with the help of Corin last.
You meddling, know nothing, ignoramus. You're way out of your depth, worldly little plod. That's all here's of this.
He's going on. I'd be delighted to explain. Mr. Gandalf's book is concerned with our celebrated poison case, the Winchurch murder. Now, how much do you know about that?
I know some of the facts.
Oh, Gandalf had to manipulate the truth in order to make his theories fit. But his manuscript made fascinating reading. As you know, the finding was that Florence Winchurch poisoned her husband. She was only caught because she exaggerated her husband's symptoms. Now, she made the same mistake as you made when you poisoned Hannah Kingman.
I poisoned Hannah Kingman. well, how interesting.
You mixed ink caps in with the shaggy caps because you knew that ink caps have a certain chemical property which is used in the treatment of alcoholics. And you knew that Hannah would be the only one that had had alcohol.
Mr. Wexford, ink caps, when used in conjunction with alcohol, can cause nausea and vomiting, but they can't kill.
Oh, no. It was never your plan to kill Hannah by poisoning her, only to make it look as if Kingman had attempted to poison her. You knew that he would never suspect you of mixing ink caps with the shaggy caps that you brought him. You also knew that he always rinsed the plates immediately after use, so there would be no traces of suspicious substance. But it would certainly make Kingman look guilty.
I'm beginning to think that Kenneth Gandalf was a very good judge of character.
Your plan was to suggest that Kingman tried to poison Hannah, and having failed, he pushed her off the balcony. So it was life for Kingman and death for Hannah.
This is truly ridiculous.
You went to visit her, ostensibly to see how she was. You lured her out on the balcony to admire her plants. You knew that Kingman was in his shop, and you took the opportunity of pushing her to her death.
This is an absurd theory. You can't hope to prove any of it.
Mr. Burton is putting my absurd theory to your daughter at this moment. Mike? Mr. Kingman? This young lady is going to tell us who killed your wife. You? Or her mother? Saffron, did you see your mother picking mushrooms out in the lane as well as in the garden?
Yes, I saw her. Sorry.
Oh, my God. How could you?
Don't you dare judge me. You only married her to spite me. You knew I wanted your children. You kept telling me you didn't want it. I wasn't going to play music at your damn christenings. Why didn't you have the guts to stay with me?
You try to control everybody and everything.
Love. I killed Hannah because I loved you. I loved you. I loved you.
Miss Last.